got a hip hop heart and a hip hop soul. Hip hop will always take control. Looking for the kids and the brothers doing this. 'Cause hip hop is where I live.
I got a hip hop heart and a hip hop soul. Hip hop will always take control.
Looking for the kids and the brothers doing this. 'Cause hip hop is where I live.
Woo-hoo! What's up, everybody? It is Eric Taylor, Big E Astrology, and I am so excited. Tonight is episode 300 of my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast, a long time in the making. And tonight, on episode 300, I have author, the designer of his own app, legendary numerologist, astro-numerologist, Lloyd Strayhorn. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Eric. It is an honor, a pleasure to be with you, my Big E friend. No question.
Hello to everybody in the chat. We will get to you soon. Lloyd will be, talking to some of y'all, getting some of your questions. But this is also a night of Black historical iconic figures. And Lloyd and I thought it would be fascinating. And I came up with this idea, and he was like, I love it, to really break down the numerology and some of the astrology, but mainly the numerology of some of our greatest icons. Because yes, it is Black History Month, and I know Lloyd would agree with me. We're bigger than 1 month. Our history is
every day. We're literally every day.
We make history every day, every step we take, every breath, but it's not American, it's world history. And this is so exciting to me, but it's a great way to come together and honor. And I'm just so excited this month on my podcast. It's just all Black guests. And some of them I've connected with you because I've got the amazing Jazz Aphrodite coming on Sunday night live at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
So I want to jump in because you are such a wealth, not only of knowledge, but of our history. And I think as the young folks don't always know because they don't get it in school, this is like everybody bring your chairs in. We come in by the campfire and you got, Baba Lloyd and Uncle Eric. We're going to sit down and we're going to give you some Black history, but find out behind the scenes who some of these legendary people really are. So Lloyd, I want to start with the birthday boy tomorrow, Mr. Frederick Douglass. You can share for some of the audience who don't know who he is, but he was born on February 14th, 1818. Who is he numerology in his numbers?
He would be an Aquarius 5, being an air sign with an air number. He was one of those rare abolitionists at the time. He was born in the period of dead in slavery, where to hang a person of color by the tree was nothing. But yet he spoke his truth. And one of his famous speeches occurred on July 4th in the 1800s, where he talked about the five fingers.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And in fact, what's so interesting, speaking of that, there was a famous pastor here named Adam Clayton Powell Jr.
Yes.
He used to say, "What's in your hand?" Okay.
Yes.
That was his speech, but I'm almost sure he took it from Frederick Douglass.
Oh,
but Frederick Douglass was writing. You should read his book. I thought I had his autobiography here.
And the Douglas-Lincoln debates, right? Legendary.
Yes, debates. And of course, you're dealing with a 5, which is a Mercury energy, which means very agile, very mental, very alert, who would know how to argue or debate, so to speak, always on his toes and whatnot. Then don't forget, he's under the revolutionary sign of Aquarius. So he spoke his truth. So he said things at that time that would shake people up, no question. But he spoke his truth.
Yeah. And that's what was needed. And you know what's so fascinating, though, that's kind of just messed up, right, with this country? Whether it's Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King, and we'll talk about their numbers soon, and Frederick Douglass, but in the inner cities, in our ghettos, these are, some of them are schools or high schools, but also some of them are projects. I grew up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, Lower Harlem, and on 102nd, 103rd, I had my grandmother's cousin lived there in the Frederick Douglass projects. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
you're just like,
yeah,
that
yeah,
that shouldn't be.
yeah,
Frederick Douglass was a giant
yes.
of a man.
In more ways than one. And all the people we're going to talk about were giants. And actually, it was through these men and even women that changed the whole course of history.
Oh yeah,
Really,
definitely.
but and yet we're not taught to get the connection of how this dot is connected to that dot. We're all interchangeably connected. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Oh, I
when you
know.
look at it, it's just amazing.
So before we get into the meat of it, I want you to just say hello to everybody in the chat. Let me know who's here. If
Hi,
everybody, people
everybody.
got questions yet. You want to read some of the comments and just see who's what this is saying?
Okay, let me shrink the screen a second so I can see that. Okay, can you break down Nat Turner? Yes, in fact, Nat Turner was born October the 2nd. She got that right in 1800. He is a revolutionary himself, too. And you know what's interesting? They were,
October 2nd. So he was a Libra, but he
yes.
surely didn't act like or seem like a Libra. What other with those numbers? What did he have, like a fire number, or what was that?
Well, you're absolutely right, because when you do his name added to a 10 or 1. The name Nat adds up to a 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1, like somebody I know born on the 10th, okay? And they are groundbreakers. They are revolutionaries. They are things of that nature. And, it's so when you have Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner, others who really fought, you got to understand, for the people, African American people in this generation, we are the best of the best, because we survived all the nonsense, all the drama.
Yes.
Imagine they used to have picnics when they hung black people.
Yeah. Well,
That
but
was,
you know that they came out with research saying that they actually ate Nat Turner. They ate him.
oh yes, they
Yeah.
dismantled him. They cut off his genitals. There's always something about folks that want to cut off our genitals. I don't get that.
Well,
That
because of
stereotype.
the power of procreating with the black man and the seed of life. And I think in some way they thought that they could not only ingest our power and our melanin, I don't know, but it is a sickness, but it's also a fear of a black nation. And hopefully we can get beyond that and come to a stage and a place where if one this country has never healed from the original sin of
Well, it's going
slavery.
to be some time, because it's over 250 years. I mean, when did it go catch on? Okay, come on, come on.
But that's the thing, because there's never been the full-throated apology, and no 40 acres and a mule, like Kendrick Lamar brought up the other night, right?
Yep, yep.
We have, this there, like Harris once said, there will never be justice on stolen land. Okay. And speaking of that, because in that first song that I introed with, it's a song from my first album, Hip Hop Forever. And the song is called Heart and Soul. And I sampled one of my, not one of them, my favorite MC rapper of all time, Lawrence Chris Parker, KRS-One. Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly every one. And I want to find out from you. He's the Leo, August
Yeah,
20th,
yes,
August
he is.
20th, 1965. What is KRS-One's energy with those numbers?
Well, it's interesting. I was blessed to meet him, autographed. He has a copy of my book. In fact, we're
Oh,
supposed to collaborate, because there's this rap he did on the number 9. I mean, it was just
yeah,
fantastic.
that KRS is deep like
You
that.
know what
That's
I'm
why I want
saying?
him on my show too.
So I'm just waiting for us to get together with whatever ideas he's going to come up with. But these are the people I've been blessed to meet. Like DMX, for example.
Mm,
I met him. It's just so interesting, the people that have walked the street. And see, that's one of the reasons why I don't want to get out of Harlem. Harlem is the seat. Any revolutionary area in New York, Malcolm X was to Harlem what Martin Luther King was to the South.
yes.
Okay. So where was the turn the other cheek? That wasn't having it in New York. You were a product of New York too. You
Yeah.
know that.
Well, because that's the thing. I mean, growing up in New York, that's the energy, and it's gone astray now, but that was the energy of hip hop culture. Because if you remember, from about 87 to 91, before the FBI and CIA infiltrated hip hop and started to promote only gangster rap on the radios, because you guys need to know that was like the type of stuff that J.R. Edgar Hoover did with the Black Panthers. And we'll talk about Huey P. and Fred Hampton soon. But the same thing, hip hop was infiltrated, because if you probably remember back then, and my wife and I were talking about it the other day, you had Poor Righteous Teachers, Public Enemy, KRS One, you had X Clan, right? Sonny Carson's son from X Clan. You had deep, deep consciousness. And remember all the black kids in the late 80s, early 90s, we were wearing the black medallions and pro-black. I was at the march to free Mumia Abdul-Jamal in Philadelphia. And then I went to the Million Man March in DC.
I was there too.
Oh man, see? And
my son was there,
that was
my
such
brother
a beautiful
was there.
Day.
Yes, it was. And people were passing dollar bills. Of course, they wasn't trying to put it in their pocket. They was passing to put into the bucket to support the thing. It was really, really
it was an incredible day.
And in fact, I had the pleasure of meeting Sonny Carson. And it was Sonny Carson that told me when I was working at a radio station in New York, WBLS, WLIB, that they were about, he came into the station and said, Lloyd, they're about to introduce this thing called crack. Ooh. I had no idea that what crack would do. But during the 80s, because don't forget, like you said, KRS-One, Public Enemy, all of these cats was raising consciousness. Yeah, all of them were about raising some consciousness. And so it was all deliberate. It's like the Opium War in China. Most people don't know that what they did was they tried to keep the people of China strung out on opium.
Yeah.
Until they freed themselves. Okay. So until this day, drugs still come into our communities. And then we're not talking about people getting high on pharmaceutical drugs. We're talking about street drugs. You know what I'm saying?
And it was all brought here by our government. We've seen that television show Snowfall. So okay, so now I want to get into some of these bigwigs. Do you want to start with Malcolm X?
Yes, Malcolm X was very significant because he walked the street of Harlem. His main area was on 125th Street on the corner of Lenox Avenue and the corner of 116th Street. And in fact, he was the minister of the Temple number 7 on 116th Street in Harlem. And in fact, what was so interesting about Malcolm, he was the 7th child of his brothers and sisters. Normally, the 7th child is very significant, like Michael Jackson was also a 7th child. So the Jackson family, he was the one that stood out. It wasn't about Janet, it wasn't about Tito, Marlon, all of them. Michael was just Michael all by himself.
Well, and I want to get to his numbers too. But so when was Malcolm was May 19th?
May 19th, I think 1923, 24, 25 or something of that nature.
Yeah. So what are his numbers?
His numbers are the 1, 4, and 9. And what's interesting, his wife, Dr. Betty Shabazz, was also born in May. She was born on May 28th. And I had the pleasure of meeting her on several times, even giving her readings too.
You gave her readings?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so wait. You just said something really powerful, because I met Betty too at the University of Maryland when the movie came out, and I got to hear her speak, and she said that there were some things in the movie that weren't exactly accurate.
Yeah, well, that's movies. That's Hollywood for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, Brother Spike went through a lot just getting that made. Remember, Paramount Pictures shut him down, and he had to get money from Janet Jackson, Prince.
Yeah,
and a lot of the
I was in that movie, in fact.
Oh, were you in Malcolm X?
I was. There was a scene where there was in the precinct, where they beat the brother up, and we all stood in the precinct. I was at the Fruit of Islam. That was the scene I was in.
Oh my God, that's such a great. Listen, Malcolm X, and let me tell you something. My father knew Malcolm X, and my aunt used to work at the Audubon Ballroom. She told me many stories about Malcolm. And this is even funny. Malcolm X's daughters were kind of bullying my cousin Michelle. They used to bully her in elementary school. And then my aunt had to say, "Now, brother Malcolm, we've got to, and he used to say, and he used to say to my aunt, because she was Catholic, he said, do you want to, come to the mosque?" And she said, "No, brother Malcolm, I am a Catholic, but thank you."
Yeah. Well, he didn't discriminate. That's the thing. And he had all daughters, no sons, which is very interesting.
I
But
know.
what happens is how I met Dr. Betty Shabazz is, well, right after Malcolm was assassinated, they had a big opening and reception at the Apollo Theater. She was sitting in the audience, and I think everybody was hugging and kissing and just,
Yeah.
she was just inundated with a lot of people. And but what happens is later on in the 80s, when I started working at WBLS, the chairman, Percy Sutton, was or used to been Malcolm X's lawyer. And so
Yes.
when he was assassinated, he took Dr. Betty Shabazz and the girls under their wing. So I worked with some of the daughters too. But and
Oh,
here's what's so interesting. Of the 20 years I worked at that radio station, people will always come to me, well, what about this birthday? What about that birthday? What about my girlfriend? What about my
oh yeah,
wife?
yeah.
I'm
You
telling
were
you,
the man at WBLS. I know.
Dr. Betty Shabazz was the only person who, when I gave a reading, she paid me. The only one.
Really?
That's when she stood out. Yep. Everybody else is like, okay,
She
Lloyd
had,
is here.
and you could tell the audience because I felt it too when I met her live. And back then I didn't even know what I was, feeling, but I just felt it.
Yeah, yeah.
She had such a pure, beautiful soul, right?
hmm
She
I
was
mean, she was
some.
just very nice. She was just very human. But the
Yes.
nice thing, to Percy Sutton's credit, Malcolm X's lawyer, he took her in and had her work at Inner City Broadcasting, which he founded along with Hal Jackson, Oliver Sutton, which is Percy Sutton's brother.
Yeah.
And then he had the Percy Sutton there. Pepe Sutton was the son.
And
Cheryl Sutton.
I know the
Yeah,
his
the Sutton
granddaughters. I know
family, the Sutton
Keisha
family.
Sutton. We grew up
Yeah,
together.
that's right. Yes, in fact, she has a political position now in
Yeah.
Harlem. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
She's got
So
into
small
politics.
world,
Yeah.
but it was just those things. But he's a number one, and people don't understand about the nature of ones. They are rock steady. They tell their truth. He said when he had talked about or criticized the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, born October the 7th, he says, even if it costs me my life,
Life.
that's
Yes.
principle. That's the number one. And then he's under the fixed sign of Taurus too. You don't mess with the Taurus. When they talk
No.
about China and the bull shop, they don't care how valuable things are. When a bull
And
goes
you
through
know
that,
what's
they'll
so
tear up
funny
everything.
about that, Lloyd, too? People don't realize two things about Taurus. They are very political and there are a lot of Tauruses. I think Stalin, maybe Mussolini, involved in like war or military, but they're
hmm
also very spiritual. Everybody thinks of Taurus like materialistic and the five senses, but they have this sensuality and spirituality about them as well. And so,
So
Malcolm
that's
was,
that Venus component, as far as I see,
yeah,
which is the
devotion. Yeah,
planet
you
of
got it.
love and beauty and commitment and home and family, things like that. And he was very, very protective of his girls, especially when his home was bombed. And
Yeah.
here's the irony of it.
Mhm.
When he was threatened after being excommunicated from the Nation of Islam
Yes.
and founded his OAU,
Yeah.
Organization of
After he went on his pilgrimage to Mecca.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and made his film to Mecca, and then started giving his lectures at the Audubon Ballroom in Upper Manhattan, or Washington Heights, as you call it, because I lived blocks away, literally, because we used to sneak in there for the dances and all that stuff. So I remember all that. But he had never allowed his wife to attend. But on the day he did was the day he was assassinated on February the 21st of 1965, which I
Wow.
thought was ironic.
That is deep.
All the times he had been lecturing every Sunday,
Mm.
I'm sure his wife goes, something in spirit or whatever, he had his wife come to only witness his death.
Wow.
So those were
Oof.
the ironies. But
So sad. And you know what's so funny? Not funny, but so deep because this is a gentleman who did the voiceover and talked about how we lost our great king and great leader in Malcolm X. And I'm
you
talking
must be
about
talking about Ossie Davis.
Ozzie
Yeah, he
Davis,
called it
Ozzie and Ruby.
outstanding black prince. But let me tell
Yep.
you how much. Let me show you how much Malcolm X influenced me.
Okay. Wow. Look at that. Okay. Wow. Uh-huh. And tell the audience, tell them the names so they know. because that's one of my favorite books, from Alex Haley, the
The
autobiography of Malcolm.
autobiography of Malcolm X, yes. And in fact, I had the pleasure of meeting Alex Haley too, a Leo born on August the 11th. You know,
Ooh.
so these are all some of the books that I've got, and this was the most interesting one here, where this was by Clayton Carson. See what kind of file they had on this man?
Wow. What's that book? What's the name of that one?
This is called Malcolm X, the FBI Files by Claiborne Carson, introduction by Spike Lee, and edited, which means they had to cut some of it down. The book is 400. Actually, the book is over 500 pages.
And this is the history that people need to understand. When you have the government infiltrating, do you know, I didn't even realize this, they went in to the church, to literally the police, urinate on the food that the Black Panthers were going to give for the school lunch program the night before they were first going to do it, to urinate on the food so that they could not give the Black children in the schools free food.
Yeah, but see, that's very hateful. That's very demonic, sir.
I know, but I'm just saying.
So when the Nation of Islam referred to them as the devils, that's very demonic behavior. Now,
Yeah.
you could call them cracker, you could call them honky, you could call them whitey, but the word they responded to was when the Muslim called them devils.
Yeah.
Okay, that is something that really kind of got under their skin. But when you do demonic things like that, you ain't got nothing else but to pee on the children's food. I mean, really?
And
Really?
the irony of that is, Lloyd, the school lunch program that we have now in this country, it came off the backs of the Black Panthers. So did
Exactly
acupuncture.
right.
The Black
Exactly
Panthers
right.
brought acupuncture to America. I mean, come on now.
The Black
Everybody loves
Panther was ahead of
acupuncture.
its time. But if you look at who was the founder, Huey P. Newton and Aquarius, and by the way, the guy was a PhD too.
Yes.
Okay, let us be clear. He wasn't just a revolutionary, carried a gun. The man had the smarts to go with it also. You know what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying? And so as a
Brother
result,
Huey, I'm doing his birth chart at Coffee Talk next Sunday, the 23rd, Malcolm X and Huey P. Newton. And
see, the
Huey P.
Black Panther
Newton,
speaks.
he was special.
And also seize the time.
Seize the time. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Some of these books I've never seen.
Yeah, but I got them in my collection, my friend.
Oh my God.
And see, they said one of the main sites that they set up other than on the West Coast was here in New York City, in Harlem.
Yeah.
Right in Harlem, brother. So all this was very, very significant. And another person that came through Harlem was one of my favorite heroes, Marcus Messiah Garvey from St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica, who was born on the 17th of August. And in fact, there is a plaque only 2-3 blocks away from here, the church, that was the site where he first spoke. It was in the year 1916. But if you look at 1916, it adds up to 17, which is his birth number. He actually came to see Booker T. Washington. But Booker T. Washington died while he was en route here. And that's when he decided to travel the country and wind up coming to Harlem. He set up the United Negro Association, of the UNIA, which is Universal Negro Improvement Association.
Yeah.
And I mean, they had parades that was so, I mean, like.
Marcus Garvey was so influential in the movement and really trying to unite. And then you got into the Pan-African movement and all that stuff. So, honey, tell us the numerology. What August 17th for Marcus Garvey.
He was a number 8. He was a number 8 and a Leo at that. So
yeah.
He was a fire sign with a number. But when you talk about influence, because there's so much in my head right now, what did Dr. Martin Luther King's father and Malcolm X's father have in common? They were Garveyites.
They were what?
They were Garveyites.
Oh, yes.
They were followers of Marcus Garvey.
Wow.
So that makes sense to me. That made all the sense that Martin in his way and Malcolm in his way were influenced because their fathers were Garveyites.
That's something.
The founders of Marcus Garvey. You know, so, right around the, go ahead.
No, I'm just curious because we're talking about these energies, but just really explain to the audience what was that energy behind Garvey and Malcolm X based on their numerology.
Well, first of all, where Marcus Garvey was born under the sign of Leo, which is governed by the number 1.
Yes.
Okay. And so Malcolm X was born. It's interesting. Marcus Garvey was a fire sign with an earth number. Malcolm X was an earth sign with a fire number.
Fire number, yes.
So they both had that kind of energy. And in fact, this was one of the books that influenced me, The Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey.
Wow.
He talked about as a young boy that he was actually managing guys in Jamaica that was his grandfather's age. I mean, so he'd always been very, very mature.
He was a true leader from the womb. Yeah.
Yeah. And what did J. Edgar Hoover have in common? With it, J. Edgar Hoover was a Capricorn born on January the 1st. He undermined Marcus Garvey. He undermined the Black Panther Party.
Yeah.
He undermined Malcolm X.
And Dr.
He
King.
undermined Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. That's what he did.
So, okay. So Dr. King is January 15th. What are his numbers and his energy? We know he's a Capricorn.
Well, he's a 6. He's a 6. Now, 6 is about community. And that's exactly what he was about. He was about the community. He was about, so the demonstrations and so fact, and even when he was assassinated on April the 4th, there in the South, it was about organizing the people, such as the first was where he really cut his teeth, as so to speak, was the Montgomery boycott, which is where Rosa Parks got into it, and actually she wasn't the first one.
No, it was the young, what's the sister's name? She was only 15.
Yes. What happens is she did not fit the prompt. She was dark skinned.
Yep.
And what happens is a lot of people don't know
that
Rosa Parks was a reporter.
Yeah.
And she reported on a lot of things. And then they used her as the seed to get it started.
Yeah.
But because of the unity, actually Black people brought the bus out of business.
Yeah.
And so they says, okay, well, we need to survive, so we let these Black folks on here.
That's right.
But then we started walking, we started hitching rides. It was that kind of unity.
But see, this is also with the financial Black empowerment, which we're trying to kind of rekindle, because before, Tulsa, Oklahoma and Black Wall Street and all this stuff, we had our own businesses. We had our own dentists, doctors, shoe shining, laundromats, candy stores, banks, right? Harlem.
It wasn't the first time. And in Harlem, there was Freedom National Bank.
Yeah.
Then there was Carver Bank, named after George Washington Carver.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of.
My father used to bank at the bank in Harlem.
Yeah. And in fact, in Harlem, there used to be the Paul Laurence Dunbar complex with a bank there. Okay. So these were the things. So we have really always had some desire to be independent of any other source. But all these cases, like Central Park was once Seneca Valley owned by the Black people.
Yeah. We used to live there. We used to have our own. Yeah. We used to live there. And then they kicked all the Black people out of Central. See, and this, you guys, this is why I have this gentleman on, because this history and this knowledge, Lloyd, it needs to be spoken out loud for the young ears of all ethnicities to hear, because I want my European friends and Asian and Latino to understand, hearing Black men speak the truth, it's not anything for you to fear or an attack on you. The truth is the truth. And so the truth should set us all free. And that's all that I think most Black people in America want America to hold up to this standards, right? Of freedom, liberty, and justice, because it never has held up to those standards of the Constitution. And so to me, I think that's what the young brother Kendrick was trying to bring about that energy the other night. And I was very proud of him as a Gemini, trying to, make very, deep statements. It wasn't just about him dissing Drake. He was talking about, Black power and awakening and understanding that we are in a matrix and this is a game. You know what I mean?
Red, white, and blue.
Yeah. Oh, it was deep. It was
even had Samuel L. Jackson in Mr. America.
Oh, and Serena Williams, who used to date Drake, and then she was crip walking.
Yeah.
It It was heavy. It was very
Did you
heavy.
know, in fact, speaking of history, did you know Crip was a dancer? He had one leg, one arm, and he would dance on that leg. This was in the old days of Harlem and during the Harlem Renaissance. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, there's so many things about us. So, for example, here in Harlem, when they talk about the numbers game was brought by Caspar Holstein. Now, if you listen to the last name, you would think that would be Jewish surname, but he was from the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay, and he was born on December the 7th. He came to Harlem, and as a young boy, and he worked on Wall Street. See, but what happens is what they didn't tell you was he worked as a janitor because at that time during the early 1900s, that's all a black person was going to
Yeah.
get.
We
You could
couldn't
have
we
a black.
couldn't get these power positions.
You would have a
Even though
black
we had the
person.
minds, though. We had the minds to do it.
Yeah, but you could have a black person graduated from college, but work in the elevators.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That was it. But one of the things I like of speaking of the history, after we're going back and forth, but all of it is connected.
Yeah.
You saw the movie Hidden Figures. It was
Yes.
talking about the women.
The
And
women.
what did they call the women? Computers. Okay, they use their brains. And so, as Malcolm X says, in the early time when we got here, and I tried to remind people, we didn't come here as slaves. We were enslaved. There's a difference in the language.
Well, listen, and a lot of information and research is coming out that we were always here. We're the ones.
No, brother. I did a lecture in Dallas and Houston, Texas, with Dr. Ivan Van Sertima.
Yes.
It came before Columbus.
Yes.
Brother, we walked this entire planet.
Yes.
So when I went to China, I was very comfortable.
Yeah.
When I went to India, I was very comfortable.
That's right.
When I went to Hawaii, I was very comfortable because I knew that historically we walked every inch of this planet.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
And did you know the Chinese scientists, when they did the research of their genealogy and DNA, it all led back to Africa.
Same thing with the Aborigines. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I say this, I'm not trying. My goal is this. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but I'm not going to let people take anything away from us. I'm just not going to do that.
Never.
Why should I do that?
You're right.
We roll down too much. No, not going to.
Okay, so I want to go back to the chat, but you hit on something, the numbers game. And so what I know you got on the list, Mr. Ellsworth, Bumpy Johnson.
Yes. Well, Bumpy Johnson came out of that area, but who brought him into fame was the Queen Dragon, the Dragon Queen.
Yes, the Queen. Yeah.
She ran a numbers joint on 143rd Street, or between 7th and Lenox Avenue. It was her and the 40 Thieves or something like that. But she brought Bumpy Johnson into it. Now, Bumpy Johnson was known as the Terminator. He actually had a termination company, for extermination.
Yeah.
He had an extermination company on the east side. So it was a double entendre. Yes, he was an exterminator to get some roaches and rats, but he was also doing some other exterminators. And yet, when I talked to his daughter, because for my book, I interviewed his daughter. And his daughter explained all the things. He was a poet. He was a master chess player.
Yes.
Okay. These are the things they don't talk about. He paid elders rent. He sent the kids to school, to college. Some of these students became doctors and judges. And
I know.
lawyers. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, wait. You're making me crazy here, because that's why I wanted to segue from Bumpy. So now Bumpy, when was his birthday again?
He was born on October the 31st.
Yes, the Scorpio, and he was Now, what's interesting? There is a gentleman by the name of William Kidd Taylor, who was very big in Harlem with the numbers. And he actually started from Tampa, Florida, had a shoe shine business and moved up to Harlem. And he used to work for Bumpy Johnson. And he was born on March 25th, 1932. So what numbers does...
He would be an Aries 7 person. So his key numbers would be the 7, 2, and 6. And 7 is one of those numbers that's very analytical. They're very private, very laid back, and things of that nature. And it's so interesting talking about the Harlem game, because what happens is on January the 16th of 1922-23, when there's the prohibition, Dutch Schultz, who would sell beer out of the
Yeah.
Bronx.
Yeah.
Somebody in City Hall told him, "You need to look to Harlem." And that's how he got into the Harlem business and broke into that.
Yes.
Because the numbers game support a lot of people. Numbers
Oh
was
yeah.
played out of
Yeah.
barbershops, beauty salons,
Yeah.
funeral
And it
parlors,
connected to the
candy stores.
horses at the racetrack. And
Yeah,
that's how you
yeah.
would get the
And
numbers.
that
And
was his
people would
formula.
go to the stores and they would bet the numbers. And just so you know, that Aries number 7, William Kidd Taylor, his store was on 159th and Amsterdam Avenue. And that was Eric Taylor's father.
Yeah, see, but that's what I'm trying to tell you.
William
It's
Kidd
a
Taylor
lot
used to work
of
for
things.
Bumpy.
It's a lot of things. And numbers just ran out of my father's barbershop. Okay. Because there were the number holes and everybody looked out for each other. There were rent parties where people just there was more of a real looking out for each other, especially during the really Harlem Renaissance period of those 20s
You're
and
right.
30s.
Remember, and the Cotton Club and all this
Yeah.
stuff. Because
The
what
Cotton Club was founded by Jack Johnson.
yes, and I want you to get to his numbers. Wait, before we get to Jack Johnson,
Yes.
and I want to just check in with the chat and see what people are asking the questions. But I want to say this: you said something very powerful because I know my father learned that from Bumpy, but my father used to pay people's rents. He would loan people money to start their own businesses. He owned a candy store, the smoke shop, and he used to help the kids and he all this stuff. But on Thanksgiving and Christmas, he would bring turkeys in Harlem and hams and feed and give out free food to everybody. That's what these men
Yeah, but
did, you
see,
guys.
that's what the hustlers did.
Yes.
That is missing. And that's what I'm saying. They made sure that the elderly were respected.
Oh God.
Okay. They'd make sure that their rent was paid. They send these
And they
kids over there.
respected women. Do you know? I met
Yes,
a
they
man
did.
one time. And there's no lie. I met a man in Brooklyn one time, and we were just talking about Harlem and stuff. It was when I was my locks. Back in the days when I was acting, he was giving me a little edge up and doing my locks and stuff. And he goes, da 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 da. And I said, well, yeah, my father used to be in Harlem, and I told him who my father was, and he said, your father was Kid Taylor? He looked at me and he said, do you know your father lent me $10,000 once to start my own business? And I paid him back eventually. But I remember being on the corner one day with your dad, and there was about 3 or 4 guys, and a lady walked by, and one of the men cursed. Your father smacked the man in the mouth and said, don't you ever curse in front of a woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that man, that's the gentleman and a gangster. That's who these men were. And
No, but these guys was classy.
Yes. Oh, my father was.
They were classy. They'd send, I remember going on a bus to Bear Mountain. The number runner played for.
Yeah.
The number runner made sure that every summer these kids had something to do other than run the streets.
Amen. And that's called community, you guys. So let's go to the chat, speaking of the community, and let's see what people are asking and saying.
Co-colors, just one of my
Coco, yeah.
Baba Lloyd, and she says, greetings. Hello, Eric and Lloyd. Good evening, gentlemen. So good to see you both on a special evening. Peace and love. Hi, everybody. And that's all I see for the moment, but I see other people. Can you break down Nat Turner other than revolutionary? He had a revolutionary name. And KRS is one of my birthday twins, which means, this is, and she needs to be on your show too.
Who's this?
She's the one, her name is Queen B. When you had Nick on, you need to have her on.
Yes, she's a numerologist.
Also predicted
let me tell you something. I definitely want to have her on. I watched her.
I'll make sure you get her number.
Yeah. No, we're going to, you give it to me. We're going to connect because I know she was on your show, but I watched her break down. She's an Eagles fan, and I'm so happy the Eagles
lives in Philadelphia. So
I'm so happy the Eagles won for her. But she was breaking down the numerology of the Super Bowl, and I'm a sports fan, and I'm sitting there like, "Ooh, this girl is deep. Like she knows her stuff." I was like, "Oh my god!" So yes, Queen B is definitely. I'm gonna try to get her on in March. So Queen B, hit me up, Eric at BigEAstro.com. Definitely. Any questions about any black? Because if you guys want to know about somebody, this is the time to ask because Lloyd is here. So if there's a black historian,
one mentioned about Fred Hampton, and
we're going to get to Fred. So go ahead, start with Fred.
Fred Hampton was a Virgo, born August the 30th, and was one of the branches, the Chicago branch of the Black Panther Party.
And so powerful.
But yet he had a way of uniting everybody,
Every race.
regardless of the color, the class, the ages.
That's
the
why
gender.
they killed him, right? Because he was uniting the poor whites, the poor Latinos in a
Yes.
powerful way.
This country is not. This country does not find it in the best interest of people to unite as one. There's always been this thing called divide and conquer. So
That's right.
what better can there be? So, for example, I told on my show in my own way, but speaking the truth of it, when they talk about illegal immigrants, well, all these Italians and Irish and
Yeah.
they were all
illegal
ignorant.
immigrants. Yeah.
They all came on the boat.
Yeah.
Okay. They all came on the boat. They came across Ellis Island, okay, near
Yeah.
the Statue of Liberty. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump's mother, in fact, was an illegal alien. I mean,
Yeah.
illegal immigrant. I don't know where I'm getting this alien thing from.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm trying to tell you?
Yeah.
So it is seems so
Well,
what
the
happened
hypocrisy of it, right? So to
this
claim
is what
stolen
I'm
land
saying.
and make it seem like this stolen land is yours and nobody else's, that's a complete myth and lie.
Well, how you
Because-
going to talk about the Native American Indians? You kill them off with smallpox blankets and
Oh,
everything,
it was terrible.
and call them savages.
Yeah.
And so their actions are not of a savage way. Is that what they're saying to you? And you go for that? Now, as Malcolm X once says, when we got here, we couldn't work till you couldn't see in the morning till you couldn't see at night. Then in the 1883s, we were emancipated, whatever, and then all of a sudden we were lazy and shiftless. Okay,
But we built the whole country.
which
We
is
built-
it, guys? What is it going to be? You know, and my thing is, if you're all that superior, you don't have to worry about little old us. All you gotta do is all y'all gotta do is get out the way and let us trip all over ourselves. But that has not been the case. We are the original man.
Yes.
We will never be exterminated.
No.
To exterminate us, to exterminate humanity, because
right.
we're the point of origin of all men.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
And that goes back to the Eve gene, right? The Eve gene that in Africa, in terms of the black woman, you know, and so
The oldest in anthropological terms, the oldest woman is called the Kenyapithecus. It was a woman, the oldest bones was found in Africa, and it was of a woman.
yeah,
Maybe that was the first Eve that
yes,
came here. You know what I'm saying? They just ain't found the first Adam yet. That's all I'm saying. And how can Pythagoras be the father of numerology when you read his backdrop that he went into the land of Egypt to learn and study?
and he
if
learned
one
from the
therefore
Africans and the
And
Arab
if
and the
one
Arabs.
asks on what continent is Egypt, it's on the African continent.
Yeah.
So when I say that numerology and astrology is an ancient African science,
Yep.
some people get perturbed by that. But all they got to do is read his own autobiography. I mean, his biography.
Well, but remember too, and this is where I think people need to really, really understand and learn history. The Greeks and Romans learned everything from ancient Kemet. And
That's why they came back. The father of this, the father of that, the
and
father of
so
philosophy.
they
all of
claim that they, created, but they stole and learned. Socrates and Plato and all these people.
Thucydides, all of these guys, all of them
They-
came
yeah.
back, the father of this, that, and the other. But what is the common denominator? They went into the land of Egypt to study.
Yeah, and we taught them agriculture, math, science, all that stuff, right? Algebra comes from the Arab nations.
I think one of the things that will help this country is that they be very honest
Yes.
as against portraying us as black and evil and because that was the perception I got when I went to China, a little bit of India. So around the world, white people have painted a bad image of black people everywhere we go. But we are the original man, and there's no getting around that.
Yeah. Well, you saw my man from Russia, Putin. He released right from the archives the Black Madonna, the pictures of the 12 disciples and the Black Jesus.
Yeah.
And he released the true essence, because that's what people don't know, right? I mean, and that's
see what they don't know. In Russia, they honor Alexander Pushkin. Who is Alexander Pushkin? A black man who was a poet, because at that time the elite in Russia spoke French. But because of his poems and whatnot and his prose, he really got them to appreciate their own Russian language. He's the father of, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we are so influential everywhere we go on the planet. Like, for example, they were talking about the Super Bowl, you know, about who is better than Michael Jackson, that Kendrick Lamar finally came the greatest all-time watcher of the Super Bowl.
But nobody will ever be Michael. And tell me
No,
his
no, but
energy and his numbers.
no, but see, here's the thing. They said that when Michael Jackson came on the stage in 1993 on January the 31st in Pasadena, California, for that game, that you got to understand 93, 2003, 2013, 2020, over 30 something odd years, okay?
Yep,
And he
33
held
years
this
later.
record. So they said that Kendrick Lamar drew a viewership of 133.5 million people.
Wow.
And they stood it next to Michael Jackson. They said he drew at that time, over 30 odd years ago, 133.4. So there's a 3% difference. But what they didn't say was this, that they mentioned about Kendrick, but what they didn't mention about Michael Jackson, he not only drew 133.4 million views in the United States, but he drew 1.3 billion around the world.
Michael,
I don't know. Then you say nothing about that with Kendrick Lamar.
well, see, but this is the thing. They're always going to try to bring down Michael. And
it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
And I want people to know he is the king of pop. He is the greatest entertainer ever. There's not no Kendrick, not no Beyonce. None of them will ever touch him. He is a Virgo with a Pisces moon and a Pisces rising. And August 29th, right, 1958.
Yep.
So what's his new?
He's you know, it's interesting because in the world of jazz, there was this gentleman named Charlie Yardbird Parker that played the baddest alto sax on the planet.
That's Bird.
They call him the king of bop. Okay, he was born on August the 29th. What do they
Charlie
call Michael
Parker
Jackson?
Had the same birthday as Michael?
Yes, and Michael Jackson was called the king of pop. Isn't that interesting?
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I love Charlie Parker. So three of my favorite. Hampton, Charlie Parker, and Thelonious Monk. Thelonious Monk doesn't get the credit.
Was a Libra, October 4th or 13th, one of those.
Absolute genius.
Yeah.
Thelonious Monk is a musical genius. So honey, give me, so what are the he's a Virgo.
So with Michael Jackson, he would be a 2, 7, and 5. Then on the other side, if you look at Prince, who was born on June the 7th, he would be a 7, 2, and 5. So both of these guys were very independent in terms of controlling their own art form, if you notice. But unlike anybody, Michael Jackson owned 50% of Sony, which was unheard of. He owned the Beatles catalog.
Well, that's why I think they really took him out.
Yeah, he owns the Beatles catalog.
When he had the Beatles catalog, he owned over, I think it actually turned out to be over 60% of Sony. And they couldn't have that.
Yeah,
and those lawyers, they stole, I mean, it's disgusting.
He owned Little Richard's catalog.
Oh, yeah.
But
did you hear he gave it before he died?
He gave it as a gift.
He gave it back to Little Richard. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Michael was
when Eminem played him, when he was accused of being
Eminem dissed him. Yeah. Michael bought his stuff.
Michael bought his catalog. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Come on.
I own you. How about that?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is we're geniuses everywhere we go, my friend. There's no stopping. Now they can portray us all they want to, but as Elijah Muhammad, the founder of the Nation of Islam, says, they want us blind to the knowledge of self. They want us deaf, dumb, and blind to the knowledge of self.
That's fascinating because what I'm kind of curious your thoughts on Elijah Muhammad because Malcolm, there was a lot of controversy with Elijah, but what are his numbers? I'm not familiar with.
Well, he was born on October the 7th, the same day as Bishop Desmond Tutu. And here's what's amazing about the 7s. Almost all founders of religious movements and religions have been 7. Christ in this part of the world is founded on the 25th. 2 + 5 is 7. Although they said Christ was really born in another part called Sep is the Latin for September. or 7th.
Wait. Can I tell you when his birthday really was? September 11th.
Yeah, so that's
Now,
what I'm
so now you
yeah.
know
So
9/11. That's
but
not an
so here's
accident.
the thing. So Billy Graham, the evangelist of North Carolina, was born on the 7th. Bishop
Wow.
Desmond Tutu was born on the 7th. Elijah Muhammad was born on the 7th. Buddha was born on the 7th of February. Mary Baker Edie, the founder of Christian Science, was born in the 7th month on the 16th day. 1 + 6 is 7. Charles Russell, that founded Jehovah's Witness, was born on February the 16th. His birthday is coming up on Sunday. 1 + 6 is 7. The Reverend Robert Schuller, that had that glass house, and I don't mean to be, you know what, but I'm trying to tell you.
Wow.
And the brother that founded the Caribbean brother, he was born on June the 7th. That founded the movement.
Seventh-day Adventist or
No. This was it's a thing this among the Caribbean community in dance and culture, but he found it, but he was born on June the 7th. I've got so many
you mean
things in my
Selassie Rastafari? Or
no. Haile Selassie was born on July 23rd. He was a Leo.
oh,
That's why they called him the Lion of Judah, because he was on the sign of
yes.
Leo. Okay.
Wow.
So there's so many elemental things to it. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? So
speaking of Aquarius, right? Because you're an Aquarius and I'm a Virgo, right? We're
yes,
the humans of the zodiac, right?
human. Yes, we are.
But along with Gemini. But I will say this: um, there, and I'm going to be honest and just going to say this: I'm the most common sun sign, the Virgo. And you explained to me, because I didn't know this, that September 9th is the most common day. That's
Yes.
my oldest son's birthday. But
Hmm.
the most rare sign is you, Aquarius. And do you know, in every field, entertainment, politics, revolutionaries, science, sports, Aquarius is the creme de la creme. When you think about the sports, you've got Babe Ruth, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, Bill Russell. When you think about hip hop, you got the young brother J. Cole, Logic, but you got
Yep.
Rakim.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When you think about the political figures, Huey P. Newton, right? Frederick
Hmm.
Douglass, even
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln, but all
Yeah.
these different powerful. And then, when you come to numerology, you got Lloyd Strayhorn.
But
You
but
can,
let me tell you this. What's interesting when you mentioned Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was born on February the 6th.
yeah.
Well, Hank Aaron, who broke his record, was born on February the 5th.
I was gonna say Hank
Okay.
Aaron too. That's right.
Yeah. So this is all I'm
Well,
saying. And again, I'm not trying to take nothing from nobody, but I ain't let nobody take anything away from us. That's all
but I'm
I'm
gonna
saying.
say this though. What people don't know, and my grandfather in Harlem used to, up in the Polo Grounds, used to catch baseballs from Babe Ruth and some of the Yankee players. Babe Ruth, his mother was part black. People don't
Hmm.
know that. His teammates
Hmm.
did not want to room with him on the road, you guys. And you look at Babe, he just looks like a real fair-skinned brother, like if you would think he's from the Carolinas,
Hmm. Hmm.
because his features were more black features. And just, his swag and everything. I mean, come on, you could tell. He was probably 15, maybe 25% the most black. He may not have looked like it, but oh yeah, his mom and
Well,
the
don't
players
forget,
knew.
in the days of our parents and grandparents, they says one drop of black blood makes you black.
Oh yeah.
See,
Well,
so
we had that
that's all I'm
time,
saying.
right, in the 20s, 30s, 40s, where when people were extremely fair, some of them would move down south and pass for white.
Well, there used to be sections of Virginia where you had a black community that were looking white and
Yeah.
kind of stayed among themselves. So it's a lot. It hasn't been being easy of being of color, but we are still the greatest people on the planet, and we're not going anywhere. And they've been trying to get rid of us since they thought we done built the cotton and all this other stuff. We also built the White House. Okay, I
No.
mean we did a
Oh,
lot of
okay. So
things.
wait, that's who I want to go to next. Tell the
Benjamin
audience,
Banneker.
Benjamin, that brother predict not only the Farmer's Almanac, designed, it shouldn't be Washington, D.C., it should be Banneker City.
Yes, it is.
Because when the French designer bailed on us, they went to Benjamin Banneker. He had the first working clock. He predicted the great eclipse in 17 whatever. Tell us his numbers, Benjamin Banneker.
Well, he was born on November the 10th. He was a Scorpio 1 person. and
Yeah.
he was the one that created the first almanac. He designed the layout of Washington D.C.
That's
It's
right.
northeast, northwest, north, south, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. Not
That's right.
only that, but he built the alphabet speed, and so it goes by alphabets, number streets. There's no X, no Y, no Z streets. There's a J, but it's not the letter J, it's JAY. So you go by A Street, B Street, whatever, but there's no J, no X, no Y, no Z, which is 4, because DC was built upon the premise of the 4. It was founded, of course, on the 4th of the month of July of 1776, but everything about it. The president is elected every 4 years. Washington is broken into 4 quadrants. The area code to Washington is 202. The
Yep.
zip code is 20002, which is a 4. I mean, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I'm telling you, even the United States has used metaphysics. It was signed, the Declaration was signed at 1300 Locust Street in Philadelphia by 13 signers. Thomas Jefferson, who wrote it, was born in the 4th month on the 13th day. E pluribus unum, 13 letters. The White House, 13 letters. Don't tread on me, 13 letters. I mean, are we missing something up in this piece? Okay.
But what we're missing is the true freedom and liberation that we're supposed to have, because they're
Well, let me
not
tell you
following
this.
that 4 number.
Yeah, but see, the United States took it to the next octave. They took it to 13, 13 stars, 13 stripes,
Yeah.
13 signs of the decorations, all that stuff. 13 in the tarot is called the death card, Eric. It's a
Mm.
picture symbol of a skeleton with a long curving blade, a sickle cutting off the heads of men and women, but it meant symbolic death. But it says those who understand the 13 is given power and dominion, which the United States did. It says those who misuse it, it will wreak havoc and destruction. And I would say this country is not on the best side of 13. That's how I put it. So your show is not taken off the air.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really not in the best side of its energy. Because anytime you got wars, anytime you got war everywhere you go. So when the United States punishes everybody through sanctions, then they want to know how did bricks come into existence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? These are some of the things. And so this is a country not based upon seem like liberation of its citizens, but just based upon greed. How much money can I make at the expense of other people? And when
It's
these people
unfortunate.
die, Eric, they can't take a penny home with them. Not one.
It is
Not
so
one.
unfortunate. Now, if you guys have any questions, let's go back to the chat, Lloyd, and just see if anybody's got any comments or questions, or are there any figures that you guys want to know about? Because we do got to touch on the champ, not only Jack Johnson and his numbers, but Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay.
Yes, he was born on January 17th, 1943.
Another
That's
Capricorn. So what? So that's
yeah.
the 1-8, right?
Yes. But speaking, this is one of my favorite heroes too. I'd get everybody recommend this book, The Autobiography of Jack Johnson. Not
Yes.
only did he found the Cotton Club, but look how dapper he was dressed at that time. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was dressed real dapper.
He was a
He was the
legendary
first
boxer.
black heavyweight champion of the United States. And in
Yeah.
fact, they had to bribe him to take a fall to keep him from winning. And this
Oh
is
yeah.
when they would fight about 40 rounds and stuff like that. It wasn't no like 10 round bout, 15 round bout. I mean, they just fought
And
for
Jack
40,
Johnson
50
was
rounds.
something.
He was. And in fact, the Mann Act, which is the law that is passed if you take a woman across state lines, was because of Jack Johnson.
Oh, that's right.
That's how
Yes.
that came into existence. There was a
So when
politician.
is Jack Johnson's? What are his numbers and what's the
Well, he
energy?
was born on March the 31st, which makes him a number 4 person. His numbers are the
And
4,
Aries.
1, and 9. He's an Aries 4 person. And the
Woo.
thing about him, my hero, Jack Johnson, Marcus Garvey, my hero, they both died on June the 10th. Okay. With Jack
Really?
Johnson, he died. In his motor car because he liked to drive his car fast. He would get tickets. There's pictures in this book where the police is saying on the car, give him a ticket. He just, but that's his thing. So, it's our history is so amazing. I mean,
It
the
is.
things we did. I was looking at a woman reading about a sister that developed the heating system that goes
Yeah.
to where your heat is control heating. So when you have a heat in this room and turn up the heat in that room, it was a sister that did that.
Oh,
What
yeah.
most people don't realize now
Well, we've
is
invented a little bit of everything. Now, we didn't always get the credit in terms of not getting the patents. We were denied so many patents. But you think about Lewis Latimer, you think about George Washington Carver, you think about the brother
well,
that did the
Lewis
first.
Latimer made it possible for Thomas Edison to finally figure out the formula for creating the light bulb.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
the light bulb
Latimer,
is everywhere you go.
yeah,
Then
the
you got
filament in the
Garrett
light bulb. That
Morgan,
was Lewis Latimer.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Garrett Morgan who did the traffic light, the air
Yes.
brakes. It's just
The
you
cell
know,
phone, the internet. That's all
yeah. But
black.
let me tell you this: there's a little black woman called Gladys West in Virginia, and she was honored not too long ago. You know why? Because she was the one that developed the GPS. So when
Yes.
you look at the GPS in your car or in your phone or
Everybody
whatever
uses
this
that
is,
today.
and
Everyone.
and ironically, when she finds her way, she used MapQuest. But there is an actual there's an actual clip of them honoring her with her husband. Okay,
That's
she
great.
developed um the GPS. So there's a book out called Black People Invented Everything. Now we
Yes.
didn't invent everything, but I'll tell you this, we damn near did.
Yeah. The
Okay. Out of
doorknob.
necessity, the doorknob,
Yeah.
the baby
So
carriage,
I
everything.
got I got a question
Potato
for you.
chip, ranch dressing. I mean, come on. Come on, man.
Lloyd, I love it. So let me ask you this. Um, what about the first black woman to run for president, Miss
Oh, that's
Shirley
Shirley Chisholm, born November
Chisholm?
30th.
Okay,
And
so
she
what's
wrote a
her
biography
energy? What are
called
her numbers? Because I want to know like what inspired her because she
She
was
is November the 30th. That was her birthday. She was from the Caribbean.
Sagittarius.
She says, I'm on board, I'm a boss and on board, or something like that. That was her biography. But she was the first woman of color to run, the first woman, period,
First
to
woman,
run
yeah.
for
I was gonna say first,
presidency of the United States.
yeah.
Okay. And she was the one that really started speaking the truth and everything like that. So she was a fire sign with a fire number. Fire means people who are passionate. She was the number three. Three rules the element of politics. It rules law, government, and the arts.
So that
You see what
explains her
I'm
energy.
saying? Yeah, that was her thing. Then you had Barbara Jordan, the number three person born on February the 21st. She when she came into politics, she made a great move about that too. So I mean, so she was that. And speaking, and credit must go to the first millionaire woman in this country, and that is Maggie Walker, who
Mm,
developed the hair product. And in
yes.
fact, Maggie Walker's mansion used to be right down the block where I lived. It's now turned into a
Yeah, Madam
library.
C.J. Walker. Yeah.
Yeah, Madam
Wow.
C.J. Walker. She developed the hair products and whatnot. She is the
And the
first
straightening comb,
recognized
yeah.
woman of color to be a millionaire
Now,
before
do
white
you
women, everything.
when was her birthday,
She
Lloyd?
was
And what were her
born
numbers?
on December 23rd, a Capricorn.
Wow.
Yeah, that was her
And
birthday,
she had
December
that
23rd.
business mind, you guys. You see how
Yes, she
this
did.
works?
That's the Capricorn energy. So another business person would be John H. Johnson that founded Johnson Magazine, Jet Magazine. He was born on January the 19th. You see what I'm saying? So all I'm telling you, we cannot be stopped, nor will we be stopped.
So, getting back to some more of the artists, we got to talk about the powerhouse, Billie Holiday.
Well,
When's
Billie
her
Holiday is, it's interesting. All the musical divas of color mostly have been Aries. Aretha Franklin,
Aretha Franklin? Yeah,
Mariah
Billie.
Carey,
Yeah,
Diana Ross,
yep.
okay,
Who I
Chaka
met and I worked with Dinah Ross, sweet
Yeah,
woman.
yeah, Dinah Carr, Jill Scott, okay, of course Billie Holiday. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I
I
mean,
didn't put that together that wow, that's a lot of
those
Aries.
powerful women. Now you got powerful women everywhere, like Ella Fitzgerald, a Taurus, and
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you got uh,
Nina Simone, the Pisces.
yes, Nina Simone. She's a Pisces at February
You
21st.
talk
She's a
about a revolutionary,
Yeah,
Lloyd? Nina
she's a
Simone.
three, but that's because three governs government, religion, and the arts. So she expressed hers through the arts. But in her art form, she was revolutionary.
That's right.
Okay. So, so
And y'all,
Aries,
and y'all better come to Coffee Talk this Sunday to learn about Michelle Obama and Nina Simone. Okay?
that's interesting because
Yeah.
Michelle is born on January the 17th.
Another Capricorn. Yeah.
Yeah. So see, to me, when people approach me, no matter what their sign is, I can always point to there's not a sign from Aries to Pisces that I cannot point out their greatness. I can point out historical figures, the
I just
impact that
love
each
it.
sign has made on the planet. You know what I'm saying? Because
So
that's what
let me
started me
ask
in
you.
my journey.
Well, let me
Yes,
ask you
go
this
ahead.
because you've shared so much information and so much knowledge, but I think about, um, you know how people used to talk about like, well, if you were gonna go to play golf or the Mount Rushmore, so who would be those the top four? Because you mentioned so many names. Obviously, I can tell Marcus Garvey would be one of them, but if we're talking about all through the lexicon of history, give me your four black historical icons and why you're choosing those four.
Well, one would be actually one of the four icons would be my father in Aries
Okay.
1, April 1st.
All right.
My father,
Yeah.
a hell of a man. That's all I can tell you.
I
A
bet.
great man. Okay. He did not play. All
That's right.
right. That I can tell you. He set an example. Then my next one would be Jack Johnson, born one day before him, then Malcolm X, and then Marcus Messiah Garvey.
Yeah.
Now I have Paul Robeson also, who's born on April the
Oh,
9th. All right. That's
oh,
a
you know how
very
to say that again. When was Paul Robeson born?
Paul Robeson was born on April the 9th in Aries.
So now what would be his energy and his numbers?
Well, he would be a 963. He would
Ooh.
sing, he spoke languages.
Oh,
The
he
people
was,
in wealth loved him.
he's
The
the
New York
original
people loved him.
Renaissance man, Paul
Yeah,
Robeson.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He played Othello. I mean, our history is so rich. You gotta understand. And we just tip at the surface, man. I'm telling you, our history is rich. And
Well,
so go ahead. I
no,
get
no, I was
excited.
gonna say, I just thank you so much because every time we come together, I learn, I know the audience learns, but I love the fact that this will go out and make sure you guys are hitting the like button, subscribe and share. Go follow Lloyd, which I'm sure a lot of you already are at Numbers and You, right? Never miss the live with Lloyd Mondays and Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, right?
7 to 8. Yep, 7 to 8
Yep.
p.m. Eastern
Okay.
Standard
Never
Time.
miss
Yeah.
that Monday and Wednesdays. But what's really a treasure is you are a walking computer, Lloyd, and a database that we are all so graciously able to learn from. And I love that. And I love your four because let me tell you, my four, just like you, I got to go with my Aries father, William Kidd Taylor.
Yeah,
I have,
that's right. Both
I
our
have
dads are Aries. That's
I have to
right.
go with the Leo, my favorite rapper of all time, and I've met him a few times. KRS-One.
Yeah.
I've got to go with the brother, an Aquarius, Huey P. Newton,
Yep.
because the energy of Huey to me, he was brilliant. Just
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
word, and then I got to go with Malcolm Little, aka Malcolm
Yeah.
X,
Yeah. Yeah.
because Malcolm was truly like Ozzie Davis said, our prince, our king. Like he
Shining
just
Black Prince. Yep.
shining
Yep.
black prince. Yeah, Malcolm was. Oh, so that's something. So you want to take a last couple of comments or questions, and then
Yeah,
before we wrap up.
yes, I'll do. And also about speaking of this famous couple in the art world, which is Ruby D and Ossie
Yes,
Davis.
yes. What's Ruby's
She was
information?
born on October the 27th of 1928,
Yes.
and he was born on December the 18th of 1917. They
So
were both number
Sag and a
nine.
Scorpio.
Yes, and they were both number nines. Okay,
Wow.
they were both number nine. She died at 87. She died at 91. She
And I
died.
remember his funeral in Harlem, the
Yes,
Riverside
yes,
Church. That's where my
yeah,
father was there,
yeah,
Riverside Church. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, there are many people that walked Harlem. Um, it's the Harlem. This is why I can't get out of Harlem. It's culturally, it's so rich.
It
Do
is.
you
It
know
is
when
the
people
richest
come
place
to
on earth.
visit?
Yeah.
When people come to New York City from whether from other countries or in other states within the United States, you know the number one place they want to come and visit? Harlem.
Yeah. They
It
want to
is
see
the top.
125th. They want to see it
Yeah,
all.
yeah. I
And
remember when.
let's not forget to shout out the Schonberg Library that was
Yes,
started from
Arthur Schomburg. Right, he was an
a
Aquarius,
Puerto
January
Rican
the
brother,
29th.
a black
He
Puerto
was
Rican
January.
and from
Yep,
Puerto Rico. Yeah,
yeah. But he was January 29th. And the Schomburg is right around the corner from me.
that's right. Yeah.
And
Wow.
I mean, it's just, I'm just walking with history and see, knowing all these people, used to walk through the streets of Harlem. These sidewalks are rich with history.
Oh, it
You
gives
know
you
what I'm
chills.
saying? Yeah,
And I
yeah.
used to love during the summer. I don't know if they still do it, but I used to love Harlem Day in August
No,
during the
they still
summer.
have it. Harlem,
Yeah,
Harlem, we just started 50 years.
Harlem
In
Week.
fact, I
Yeah,
was one of the first persons to work on Harlem Day.
really.
And it was in 3 locations, 125th, 135th, 155th Street. They
Yeah,
now celebrated their 50th year just past summer. And
really. I
so
used to
I
go to that
started 50
growing
years
up,
ago.
and that was powerful to me,
Yeah,
Lloyd.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
really, really okay. So let's see if there's anybody in the chat. Any questions or comments you see there?
Okay. Somebody says they have all my books. Thank you very much. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. He was born November the 29th. That was his birthday.
Oh yes, I
Yes.
have a friend with that
Okay.
birthday. Yeah, powerful.
And one was saying, please tell us about Huey P. Newton. The man was great. He raised the consciousness. I mean, imagine a black man
So he's an
walking up on the
Aquarius. What is he? A fire number or is that a air or water?
no, he is a air sign with an earth number,
Oh, Earth number.
which
Okay.
means very practical, born on the 17th, which is an 8. Okay.
And boy, was he smart.
Yeah. Yeah, but see,
Ooh,
they don't know that he was Dr. Huey P. Newton. They don't
that's
give you that
right.
part. See, they just give you the part, well, he's a revolutionary, this, that, and the other.
No,
But he knew to see, because the Constitution says what in the Second Amendment? The right to bear
their
arms,
arms.
except when black people are bearing arms. See what I'm saying?
Because in
They just don't-
California, they
they
got
let them-
really upset when they saw those black. When they saw Huey
yeah.
P. and oh, what about Brother Bobby Seale? Another
Yeah, Bobby
brilliant.
Seale was his man. You know
I
what I'm
know, but
saying?
what's his
I'm
numbers?
trying to remember his birthday. I
I
got
don't
so many
remember his
birthdays.
birthday. Does anybody remember? Because Bobby Seale was right there with Huey, and
Yeah, to the end.
yeah. And what they were doing, you guys, I hate how history tries to disparage and desecrate the Black Panthers because they were about freedom and liberation. But not only were they feeding the children,
Yeah,
they
the
were
food
also
program, everything,
the
all
food
of that
program,
sprung out.
acupuncture, but they were also doing things in healthcare. They were helping, the daycare so women could go get jobs. They were protecting people in the community. I mean, this was a collective of people coming together and saying, no more. We're not dealing with these pigs disrespecting us and trying to kill us. We're going to have our guns just like you have your guns.
Yeah, but the point is that it's like when I grew up in Harlem, there used to be a guns club. Black men had gun club.
Yeah.
When the 60s and 70s broke out, all the gun clubs disappeared
Yeah.
in the
Oh,
black
listen,
community.
my father
There
kept his
used to be
gun with
gun
him
clubs.
in the store. Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be gun clubs in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? All the places that white people would come during the Prohibition to hang out, the Renaissance,
Yes.
all these places, they
All
all
the penny, what they call them, not the jukebox places, but the
juke
what they call
joints.
the juke joints. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, and then Chicken and Waffles that was founded in Harlem. I mean, there's so many people that
Yeah.
has made
My
this.
mother was born and raised. She was a Harlem girl, born and raised in
Yeah,
Harlem.
yeah. And I was born and raised in Harlem. Love Harlem, still live in Harlem.
That's
But only
amazing.
and because it's so rich, it's changed a lot, but the history and the energy has not changed, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because there's been a ton of gentrification, but
Oh,
you
Bobby
can
Seale was
never.
born on October. Thank you very, very much. I knew there was so many. Thanks, Bobby. Barbara Herndon was one of my first original students I taught in the 70s.
Wow.
She's classy. I had a newsletter. She was one of my editors, one of my writers, my contributors.
Really?
Yes,
So that's who
Bobby.
just told us the information?
Yeah, October the 22nd, 1936. Now,
Bobby Seale, October the 22nd. So that would make him a Scorpio.
yes, he would. Now, I've met some people on the 22nd of October that's a Libra.
It
Then
depends
some
on
are
the year. You're
Scorpio.
right. You could be
Yeah, so
either
it depends
29
on where
degrees
they're
Libra
born.
or
Yeah,
0 degree Scorpio. Either one,
yeah. But here's the
depending on
thing:
the year.
with Bobby, with Huey P. Newton, his numbers was the 8, 4, and 1. With Bobby Seale, his numbers was the 4, 1, and 9, or the 4,
Oh,
1, and 5. So
got
that's
1
what
and
they
9.
both
Wow.
had in common. And Bobby spoke. So I suspect Bobby was more of a Scorpio
Oh,
because he
yes.
stuck
No,
with
no.
Huey
When
all
you
the
when
way.
you know the energy of Bobby,
Yeah,
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 he was 0
yeah,
degree Scorpio.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
And
bet
if
he
you
was
saw
a
that
0 degree.
face he had with that beret on, he wasn't
Woo,
joking.
Bobby.
That's a Scorpio energy. So what happens is what they've done is they've introduced all kinds of things. Now we're very much distracted with TV,
Technology,
internet,
video
everything. We
games,
got our hands
TV,
looking at the
movies,
things like
music. Yeah.
that. Now in Harlem, they did a survey. This was about a year ago.
Okay.
They asked some young boys, right? They had a picture of Jesus, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. The only thing those teenage boys recognized was Jesus. I kid you not. I kid you not, man. I kid you not.
That's that. You see, and this is why you and we have to show up in these spaces. I had a beautiful woman on Tuesday night named Loretta, and she was saying to me, Eric, it's so important for me and people like you, for Black men to show up in these spiritual spaces, in the esoteric occult knowledge, and in spirituality, to speak our truths, to share our voices and our history. But it's more important than ever. I teach my kid. Do you know when my boys come home, every day I ask them how was school and what they learned, and then I have to make subtractions and additions. I subtract the brainwashing and programming lies, and I add in real history and the truth. And that's my intention. And my wife and we talk to them, but I let them know the truth about Malcolm X and Huey P. Newton. I had my son, do a little research on Benjamin Banneker. I let them know. We talk about Lewis Latimer and just, but all of it, and they know. And I love that. You have to be, as I like to say, maniacal intentional. Just like you need to be on your spiritual discipline every day. Like Lloyd and I talked about 2 times before when he was on, about us connecting to nature and hugging trees, right? All of this stuff. So now I know it's time to go. Your
No,
great
no,
your
no, no, no,
your
no, no,
granddaughter your granddaughter's coming. I know.
no, no. I meant to cut this thing off.
Okay, okay. But you know what I'm saying, Lloyd? So I thank you for, your podcast, my podcast, and many other brothers and sisters out there, and everybody who shares real knowledge and truth. But we have to show up and we have to speak from our hearts the truth. It is more important than ever in 2025 because they're trying to erase our history. That's why
Well,
these young
that's not going to
kids,
happen. That's
no,
not
it
going to
won't. But
happen.
these young kids, they
Not-
don't even know cursive. That means
Yeah,
they
no.
can't read.
But
They can't read
all
consonants.
that is by design. When I published my book 45 years ago, and I did the reading history of the reading grade level at that time, it was 4th grade. That was then. Now, fast forward to 21st century, it's even gotten, unfortunately, even worse.
Yeah.
Like you said, cursive, because it used to be reading, writing, arithmetic. Now it's gender identity, pronoun pronunciations.
It's
I don't see how that's going to get a kid a job.
none of
I
it.
don't see how that's
It's
going to make them
that
a
is all recruitment and indoctrination and programming. And
yeah.
what we've got to get back to is the family unit, love and truth, but also discipline. Discipline is love. I explain to my boys, an undisciplined man, they have a place for them called Lloyd, and it's called jail or prison. You cannot be an undisciplined man. You have to control your emotions. You have to control your mind. You have to take care of your body. You need to be a disciplined man and woman. And
Hmm.
that's the things that I try to teach to my audience and to my clients because it's love. And you have to have self love, and this
You won't be
today,
able to get around it.
and what you shared today was nothing but love and knowledge. And that's why this podcast is called Knowledge is Love.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Knowledge is the more knowledge you have, the more you love yourself. But
Yes.
all this is designed for us not to love ourselves. And what they've done now is because one of the greatest threat to this country, especially during the 60s, 70s, was the Black family.
Yes.
So now what they got? I don't need no man. And now men don't want to date the women and all this stuff.
That women's lib movement was very
That
intentional,
was all a part of that. And then
and it
they
was
got
a
this
lie.
thing where a woman will say, they ask the question, who would you want to be out in the woods with, a man or a bear? They said it's a bear. Trust me, I know what they say, but I know nature. I
Yes,
know
you
the
don't
nature
want to
of
be with no
female.
bear. You
If there
want to
was
be
a
with a
bear,
man.
she gonna want a man to protect her from that
That's
bear.
right.
Okay, so they could talk all that smack they want to. I know the real deal. There was a bear coming. They're gonna look for a man first for protection. period.
Right.
Now, and all
So
these same women who don't need a man, my question is, well, how do you think you got here in the first place?
talk about it.
If I'm not mistaken. I mean, let's use some common sense. But they taught us to be out of our realm of even common sense.
No, we are
Don't you
in
love your fathers, ladies?
we're in a state of crisis, and it's time to fix it now before it goes too far. It's already gone too far, but we have the ability to hit the brakes and turn the car around. So, two more gentlemen. We touched on Cassius Clay, but I want to focus on his numbers and energy
Well,
because he was a Capricorn, but Muhammad Ali was a brilliant brother and really was a part of that movement of building with Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with Bill Russell, with Jim Brown. These are some of these sports icons back when sports icons were part of
really
the
icon.
political movement.
Yeah.
Bill
They all
Russell
had a conscious. They
and
all
Jim
had a
Brown and
consciousness.
Kareem. Oh my! So tell them Muhammad Ali, the Capricorn, but what were his numbers?
His numbers was the 8, the 6, and the 3. Born on in Louisville, Kentucky, on January the 17th of 1943, and that's what he was. And see, what made him stand out was when they wanted him to draft him, and he says, "No Vietnamese ever called me the N word."
That's
Okay, he
right.
wasn't going there, and so he says, and he always spoke his truth.
Yes.
Anytime we speak our truth, we are perceived as being is anti-white. It ain't got nothing to do with anti-white. Hey, what y'all talk? That's the guilt. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying. That's the guilt.
Yes.
All we doing is speaking the truth.
Muhammad was a bad brother.
Yeah, yeah. And we know how we've been treated. They know how we've been treated because we've been treated by them.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the history. I mean, in kind of New Orleans, they would kidnap our babies and use our babies as bait to catch alligators. That's
Oh yeah.
inhumane.
They
That's
threw the
inhumane.
babies to the alligator. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
to capture, you know what I'm saying? You know, as if we don't have a life, as if we're not human. And I'm saying those are superior people? Really? That's what superior people do? To treat other people in a sub. You know what? The elders used to say, you can show me better than tell me.
That's right.
That's all I'm saying, brother.
Well, and we got that from oh my gosh, what's the brilliant writer that went to Europe the same
Oh,
time as Nina Simone?
you must be talking about
James
my man,
Baldwin.
James Baldwin, my buddy,
Woo!
August 2nd. August
What?
2nd.
August
That's my
2nd. He was a
buddy.
Leo. Okay, and
Yes,
so
he was. Yes, he
now
was.
fire sign. What was that? Is that
He
a
was a fire sign with a water number.
water? That's what I thought. A water
That
number.
brings out that sensitivity. Choose
He-
of your poets. He was a
Oh,
poet extraordinary, black boy, blues. I forgot. You know,
beautiful writer
yeah, beautiful
and
writer.
so brilliant with his
And
words.
also spoke his truth.
Truth. Yes, he did. Wow.
Always spoke his truth.
Well, I feel like we've spoken our truth tonight and covered pretty much every. So now I do want to say because Muhammad's my guy, but for the my generation, the younger folks. Now I saw Muhammad. I didn't see the fights in the '60s, but everything in the '70s I kind of saw. But
Mhm.
Iron Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson is born on June the 30th, and he's a 3.
He's a 3.
In fact, the swimming guy, the guy,
Michael Phelps.
yeah, born on the same day.
Wow.
Lena Horne is born on the same day, and I had the pleasure of meeting her too. That's her birthday, June the 30th. Okay.
Lena
And
was
she was in love with Billy Strayhorn, which was my relative. And did you know that Billy Strayhorn was born on the 29th? And his co-producer and co-music partner, Duke Ellington, was also born on the 29th?
Duke Ellington was brilliant.
So they think
Billy
that
Strayhorn.
Duke Ellington wrote Take the A Train. No,
Right.
it was Billy Strayhorn that wrote it going up. He came to Harlem, took the A train up to Washington Heights at building 555 Edgecombe Avenue, where he was living at the time, Duke Ellington.
Yeah.
And while he was taking that train ride up to Harlem, he wrote Take the A Train. That's how that came. That's how that came into existence, my friend. Our history is so rich.
I used to live on Fairview Avenue.
Yeah.
On 193rd.
And it's interesting because Edgecombe Avenue used to be called Paul Robeson Avenue.
Yes, yes.
You know, I mean, there's so much of our history. And, you know, and so my thing is, to try not to forget. So I'm glad you invited me on this, because this is a good outlet for me, because I got all this historical stuff stored up inside of me.
No, and you got to share it, because these
Yeah.
young folks, they just don't know. And that's the thing, Lloyd, because that is our history, right? From the storytelling with the drum, right? And we didn't always write everything down. We would speak it and pass it on and tell it. And now we got to get back to that. We need to write it and speak it and tell it. I think that there's been a gap, and I think we've got to come back and re-heal it and refix it, because there's no reason for these young folks to look at to not know Malcolm X and Dr. King.
Yeah, those should be standards. That's like in any other ethnic group. They got to know their heroes and sheroes
Well,
and
and let me tell you, my boys came home from school one day and they were like, "Dad, the kids in my school, they never even heard of Malcolm X. They never even heard of."
and that's how they want it to be.
Yes.
Also,
Oh,
that's
I know.
exactly
In
how
the
they want
schools,
it
they
to
tell
be.
you slavery, Dr. King, Rosa Parks. That's it. That's it.
No, they want to take the safe route, but they're not going to tell you about Nat Turner.
Ah,
They're not going to tell you about Harriet Tubman. Are you serious? Are you
Marcus Garvey.
serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you serious?
So okay,
No.
so okay, I keep wanting to say goodbye, but you touched on
It's
his
all
name.
your fault, man. You
No, but
keep
what were his
only
numbers?
kidding, only kidding.
Booker T. Washington. What's his birth information?
Booker T. Washington was an Aries.
Another.
He was an
I
Aries.
tell you, you Aries out there, you Aries in the chat, put your fire signs up.
He was an
Aries or something up. My
Aries.
father was an Aries. Aries are so, it is the childhood genius, the pioneer maverick. They've got the energy
Yeah,
of 10
yeah,
men.
yeah. My father taught himself in the days of how to develop film. He also then went from developing black and white to developing color film. My
Wow.
father was an amazing man. I am so honored that I was blessed to that man. He was respected. He had a barber shop.
Yeah.
And one day, my father, everybody knew my father. They called him Little Stray. His location was at 370 Lenox Avenue between 128th Street and 129th Street.
Okay.
That's where I learned how to sign shoes,
Yep.
the floors,
Yep.
everything. And my father had a person in there one time. He let people work because everybody had to kind of help each other.
That's right.
And my father found out that the guy was going into the customer's coats and taking money. He fired him on the spot. My father didn't
Oh, yeah.
play.
Oh, no,
My
no.
father did not play.
Black men that back then, there was no second
Yeah,
chances.
yeah,
You
yeah.
don't
My
you don't
father did not
disrespect,
play.
you don't
Mm-mm,
steal, none of
mm-mm,
that. You
mm-mm,
got to go.
mm-mm, mm-mm. None, none.
Wow.
So I honor my father. He worked very hard. I
Yeah.
love my mother. She told me, "You want for other people what you want for yourself." No education, but all the common sense in the world,
You had the
man.
the
You
Virgo
don't need
mother,
even
right?
a GED. Yes, a Virgo mother. If
Yeah.
you want to be treated nice, guess what you got to do? Simple. You ain't have to go to school for that. Got to take a course, 101, 102. Nothing. Simple. Simple, but elegant.
Lloyd, you are simply the best. You
Thank
guys,
you.
this was so much fun. Please watch it again, because this was rapid fire. I want you guys to sit down and take notes when you watch it the second time and ingest this knowledge and this history, because we've shared a plethora of men and women and their knowledge and information and
We
just
just scratched the surface.
of course it would take multiple episodes, because there's so many giants. We didn't even talk what is Barack's numbers.
He is August the 4th, 1961.
So that's a Leo with is that a fire number
He's a
too?
fire sign with an air number.
Oh, the
And
air number.
speaking of Leos, um, you know, the first person to reach the North Pole of African American descent, Matthew Henson, a Leo. The
Yeah.
first African American president, and the way it's going to be like, that's going to seem like that's going to be for a long time for another African American president coming to office. Okay, not personal. August 4th, the
Wait.
first African American to win the Super Bowl. I mean, the Super Bowl was
Doug Williams.
22, born August the 9th. He won it in 1988 and he retired the following year in 1989 in the year of the nine. That's when he retired.
So let me say something about what you said earlier, because I still tell people, no knock on Barack or Kamala, but understand neither one of them were African American or indigenous black. His mother was European and his father was African. That's intentional. They have not allowed a Cory Booker or a Jesse Jackson, a president, to be from from coming from enslavement to be president, right? They would not allow a Lloyd Strayhorn or Eric Taylor to be president. So there's a difference. Understand that. Barack is not, he's, there's a little difference. I'm not knocking the brother, but there's a difference. And that's intentional. So I want you all to understand that out there. All right. I had to say that.
Yeah. Well,
that's very intentional.
We're going to have to do a part 2 next year.
I love it, man. This was such an honor and a pleasure. And
let me say this too in closing.
Say.
For those of you who are not of color, be not offended. Be open-minded.
We love you.
Yeah, I have no problem, because as I told my children, if you hanging off the cliff of life, does it make any difference who comes and pull you out of the clinch, off those precarious things. But the point is that I think we need to love ourselves more, and we will have less problems too. But we've learned from the music they have. If you listen to the music that we came up with, our parents came up with, we was loving each other. Now we call the women all out their name. We call them B's and H's. And
we came from Motown and soul and blues and jazz.
Yeah, because that's when you dance real close to each other. You know what I'm saying? You grind or whatever
love
you want
music.
to call it. Yeah.
No, okay, wait. You see, now you got me started. I can't say goodbye yet. What about Brother Marvin Gaye?
Oh, you mean April 2nd? Yes,
another
Aries. Another Aries also was Teddy Pendergast.
With a water number, right?
Yes, he was. And he was shot and killed one day before his birthday in 1984 by his father.
Yeah.
No,
I did. You could see it on my channel. I did his birth chart reading. Marvin was special, man. He went through a lot. Unfortunately, some drugs and other things got to him. Hollywood got to him. But he was what a talent. Now, I can't leave on this one. I can't leave on that yet.
Okay, let me see.
Three comedic giants. We got to touch all aspects. Red Fox.
Sagittarius, December 12th, I do believe.
Okay, so that's an air number and a fire sign?
Yes, he's a fire sign with a fire number.
Fire number, okay. And then Richard Pryor, my favorite.
Richard Pryor, yes, he was a Sagittarius also. I should remember his birthday. I know it's in December. And who is it?
I did his birth chart. It's in my thing too. You guys can watch that in my celebrity play series. But Richard was ingenious. How he was able to blend history and politics and comedy and talk about stuff. Like he was deep.
Well, there was a skit that when he had an NBC special. And it was like he was in this cave, the Egyptian cave.
Yeah, he was in Egypt.
Reading the hieroglyphs on the walls.
And so all the black faces.
Yeah, he says, and the hieroglyph says, and the black man did this, and the black man did this, and did this. And
they cut the show off.
No, what they did was they rolled the stone and locked him inside. That's what they did. And
they stopped, but they didn't air it no more. They were like, we're done with this.
That was it. So he did. And who was the third one?
Eddie Murphy, man. Another Aries.
Yes, Eddie. Yes, he's born on April the 3rd. But
that's the fire number, right? That's the Jupiter.
Yes, that's right. And in fact, he was born the same day as Marlon Brando, the actor. And Marlon Brando was going to do something of Robinson Crusoe or something, and he was going to be the thing. And he wanted to Eddie Murphy to kind of play the slave part. Eddie Murphy said, "Are you serious? Okay, come on. Fire sign with a fire number."
Eddie was not to play with.
And you remember the movie Dreamgirls with Beyonce and
and
Nicki
Jennifer Hudson,
Rose. They were all Virgos. Every single one of them was Virgos.
That's right. Jennifer, Beyonce.
Yeah.
Well, except Jamie. Jamie Foxx is Sag.
Yeah, but Jamie Foxx and Eddie Murphy were fire signs.
Yeah.
You see
the
what I'm
ladies
saying?
were the Virgos,
Yeah, they were both fire signs.
Wow.
So it's just all this stuff is very amazing.
Well, my movie was Harlem Nights with Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it up, because if you guys have not seen, this is a movie. Martin Lawrence was in it. I mean, comedic giants, But
And Mark Lawrence is Aries too.
yeah, the history of it.
April 7th.
Yeah. And that's the 7 again, right? So that's the
Yeah.
7 is the air number?
No, 7 is water.
Oh, water.
Who's
Okay.
feeling and intuitions and sarcasm.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway,
Thank you, my brother.
you say we can keep talking about this for a while. But that's how that is.
At least I had to get in those comedians.
Yeah.
Because we've touched on everybody. But wait, we touched on Michael. But what about the queen of R&B, Miss Whitney Houston?
Well, Whitney Houston was born on August the 9th, and could nobody outsing her.
Nobody. Don't get it
Notice
twisted.
she was also under a fire sign with a fire number.
And she was fiery. She was, let me tell you something. People don't really know the real Whitney. She was a fiery Jersey girl. Whitney would give it to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I met her mother too. I met her mother when she was just starting. So it's just, I've just been very blessed to meet people.
But okay, so we didn't talk about this, but share with the audience, because you had a great experience and you mentioned it and we didn't talk about him. Barry White. You met Barry White.
Yes, I met Barry White. He was born on September the 12th of 1944. I met him at WBLS Radio. He was at the height of his game.
Yeah.
And he came there. And so my thing was, when celebrities would come through, I'd make a point to introduce myself. Okay. Right. And so come to find out that he was very much into numerology, and we hit it off just like that. I signed my 1987 edition book to him.
Wow.
And I don't know whether he had ever had it in his collection, but the irony is he died on his wedding anniversary, July 4th of 2008.
Wow.
That's when he passed away, on his wedding anniversary, July 4th.
And Barry was ahead of his time.
Yeah. No, Barry was
deep.
You know, see, yes, not only deep with the voice, okay?
No, but
other was deep. People don't realize he had his own band.
Yeah.
He, you know, I was reading a bio for him the other day. Brilliant man. The Love Unlimited Orchestra, the Love Unlimited Ladies with Flo Glodine. Okay, he married her. Listen, the brother was fly. Okay, come on.
Barry was the man. Barry, Teddy Pendergrass.
Yeah, and one last one was, I had the honor of meeting after the play. A person called me after the play, called me to their room. They wanted to talk to me. They told me they were born on the 28th of the month. His wife was born on the 28th of the month. They married on the 28th of the month.
What?
Their son was born on the 28th of the month.
What?
And when he was given his first Academy Award, it was by Julia Roberts, born on the 28th, who gave it to Denzel Washington, born on the 28th. Listen, I have a nice experience, brother. I have a nice experience.
You have lived a life, my friend. Thank you so much for this. You have brought Black history 360 degrees full circle.
And there's more.
There's
more.
Touching the surface, but this was so much.
Yeah.
And I thank you. I know everybody in the chat, thank you for being here and watching. But please, don't think that this was just a little something. This was a powerful episode, because this man has a wealth of knowledge, and just the information and these numbers and these people, but your experiences, you've met and touched so many of these people.
I've met many artists, many artists. It's incredible. One day I was shocked at all the people I was blessed to meet in the world of entertainment, from, Quincy Jones to Mia to, it's just, if I say it, it sounds like I'm bragging, but that's
it's not. But let me ask you this: besides Barry White, out of all the people you met, whether it was politics or entertainment, who do you think was most interested in the numerology and maybe astrology or the occult information and knowledge?
Well, one of them was Luther Ingram, because we were both born on the same day. We both had a company we published at that time called Yama Publishing, which is numerically the number 7. And he was at the height of his fame too.
Luther Ingram?
Yeah, Luther Ingram. James Ingram.
Oh, James Ingram. Okay.
James Ingram. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Oh, what a singer.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
he was into numerology and stuff?
Hmm. You'd be surprised of people, but Barry White was the most impressive to me.
Yeah.
Because when he came to that theater, to the studio, he shook everybody. Everybody wanted to be around him.
Yeah, yeah.
He and I talked and whatnot. It was a nice experience. I gave him my book, autographed it to him.
That's awesome.
And you know another person I met too? Aaliyah.
Ah,
Aaliyah was the sweetest person. You know
it
how some
still
people
breaks my
are
heart,
so
Lloyd.
very attractive, but if you met her mother who was with her, you understood.
Yeah.
And then I met Sade
Ah,
because I always remember Sade's birthday. And she always looked at me in wonderment. I said
was
January
she?
16th, right?
Yeah, Capricorn, right?
7th. Yeah, January 16th. Yeah. I met all these people, man. I met all of them. All of them.
Well, let me tell you, Aaliyah and Sade, that's two beautiful women you met there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the nice thing is the beauty was for me, when you have a very attractive woman, sometimes they get a little
Inside, that
snooty
inner
or
beauty
whatever.
matters more.
But
Yeah,
she was so humble, Aaliyah.
yeah.
Okay.
I
I met
heard she was.
Beyonce when she was with Destiny's Child when they were four of them. They autographed a picture for me. There were four. So most people remember Destiny's Child with three.
I
But when
remember
they
the four.
first
Yeah.
started and came to radio, there were four of them,
Yes.
you know.
Wow.
So it's just interesting. I have an interesting life, I think.
Oh, I know it's an interesting life, my friend, and I'm glad to be a part of it and to be able to call you a colleague and a friend. It is.
No, we're brothers. We family.
That's
That's how
right.
we roll. We family.
We
That's it.
family.
Yeah, and
So you
everybody in
guys,
this room is family too.
thank you. Please go follow him everywhere. He is amazing on
December
TikTok.
1st, Richard Pryor. Thank you for getting me straight.
Oh yeah, what was it?
December 1st. Most of the great comics have come out there. Richard Pryor, Flip Wilson, Rodney Dangerfield, Moms Mabley.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
A lot of
Red
fire
Carpet.
signs for
Yes.
comedians.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave Kennison. All of them. All
But
of them.
I'll tell you this. I've noticed for the funniest comedians, it's either fire or earth, because you also got Dave Chappelle, the Virgo.
Yeah, he's August 24th. Yep. Alrighty. I guess that's it. I want to thank you very, very much. This was fun. And I guess I'll make my exit however that works. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Ah. Whew. That was great. got a little snack and some tea or something? I'm sorry, he just froze the last minute though. Yeah, that's all right. It was so great. God, he knows so much. There's so much history. Hey Siri, text Lloyd Strayhorn.
What do you want to say?
Thank you, my brother. You cut off the last minute.
You haven't shut it off.
But I thanked you.
Aaron, you haven't shut it off.
I did.
Okay, well, I was just hearing you go for like 2 seconds ago. I can still hear you now. You still. Can you hear me?